All right, back with another tier list. We're doing the head coach tiers this time. You might notice, wait, there's already some teams on the board. You accidentally put some there. No, not a mistake. It's the who knows tier. So these are the rookie head coaches that we haven't seen, with the exception of Raheem Morris with the Falcons, who was a head coach of Tampa Bay, but that was a while ago. So I'm kind of just putting them all into who knows tier. That feels fair for me. I didn't put Dan Quinn there. We'll talk about him in just a second. Because we've seen him coach recently as a head coach. But so yeah, that's where I'm putting all of them. Also worth mentioning, though, if you want to hear my thoughts on these guys, or just if you want to hear more thoughts on any of these head coaches, Kyle and I on the podcast did our top 32 coaching rankings list. So check that out if you want to hear more thoughts. But I like doing it in a tier list too. I think it can sometimes give an accurate depiction of how I feel. Right? Sometimes people say, well, why'd you put this guy at 12 and this guy at 13? It should be flipped. And I kind of want to say, well, they're basically the same tier anyway. So that's why I do the tier list. Let's just get into it. Starting off with Dan Quinn, who I am putting in the more bad than good tier. There definitely are things to like about him. I think what he did with Dallas recently was really good as a defensive coordinator. I think the best case scenario, if you're a Washington fan, is he really delegates a lot of the offense and solely focuses on defense. But still, there are those tough game management stuff. He's never really figured out the offense when he hasn't had a great the Shanahan year was great, but with the exception of that, hasn't fully been able to be successful outside of that. So has gone to a Super Bowl, but has won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator. But I'm still putting in more bad than good. Then we have Mike McDaniel, who, so again, the tiers at the top, I want a season changer, and really by season changer, I mean like, if you have a key injury, you're still like, well, hey, we got our head coach, at least we have that. That's not Mike McDaniel for me, but he is a game changer. He will really, you'll feel his finger on the pulse of specific games, and I think it's still really good. I think that he is, the Dolphins have kind of struggled toward the end of the season for the past couple of years, but like they've gotten really unlucky with some of these injuries too. People don't really talk about that. So, I'm willing to put him in the game changer tier. Then we have Robert Saleh of the New York Jets, who I'm going to put in the mixed bag tier. The thing is, it's like, okay, usually when a guy has had the lack of results that Saleh has had with the Jets for so long, you kind of have no choice but to say, okay, results matter at a certain point. Like, it's a negative. The way I kind of view it, though, is like, yes, results do matter. I think there are valid excuses each year for why the offense has sucked each year. Most of those involve having Zach Wilson as quarterback, right? Like, I'm not going to hold it against him too much that he hasn't been able to make Zach Wilson work. I'm just not. Like, Zach Wilson didn't play well. Like, what are you supposed to do in that situation? Now, if the defense sucked, then I would sit here and say, okay, well, that's something. But again, I don't just look at results. I look at X's and O's. I watch all these games. I think the X's and O's have been pretty good for the Jets. From what I understand, people really like him as a leader. It's just the results haven't been there, I think, through no fault of his own. But I still can't put you higher than the mixed bag tier because you haven't had results. So that's why I view him there. Then we have Zach Taylor, who I think I'll be positive here with Zach Taylor. I'll put him into still good tier. There are things that drive me crazy about Zach Taylor, but he has gotten a lot better at those, like the running on every first down thing that he was doing a couple years ago. I think he had some real game management issues early on in his career as well. Has improved a lot, and again, I mean, player development has been fantastic for the Bengals. Maybe they just had good players like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and T. Higgins, or maybe Zach Taylor had something to do with that. Who can say for sure? But I think the still good tier feels fair for me. Then we have Kevin Stefanski, who, the thing about Stefanski is, like, I made the comparison on the podcast. He's kind of the equivalent of the, like, quarterback who just consistently puts the ball in the right place, like, isn't, making these, like, highlight reel level plays, but just, like, solidly doing the right stuff. So, because of that, I'm not going to put him in the game changer tier like most people think I probably should. I'm going to bet I'll put him in the still good tier. Again, these are in no particular order. It's tiers. So, yeah, I think that feels fair for me. I know some people will want higher than that, but hey, then make your own tier list. Maybe I'll watch it if because I think these things are fun. But anyway, the Jaguars with Doug Pederson, I'm putting in the mixed bag tier. Listen, again, another guy where it's like the results do kind of have to matter at a certain point. The last year that collapse was tough. He has won a Super Bowl, but that was with a different team. I still think the X's and O's are pretty strong. I do. So, like, I don't know. I think there's stuff to like about Doug Pederson. The game management's usually pretty strong. There are some quirks that you'll have. Every now and then he'll make a decision that makes you say, what on earth are you doing? But I think the good, at the very least, outweighs the bad. And I would say, maybe even more so. More good than bad. Next up, the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell, listen, I think that the old school football heads who dislike fourth down decision making that he does would put him in here. I think that would be insane. I think Dan Campbell is awesome. To me, the only question I have with Dan Campbell is which of these top tiers is he in? And if you think I'm going to get the Dan Campbell fans pissed off at me, you're out of your mind. He's into season changer mode here, but I really do think that what he did last year was incredible. I think season changer feels correct with Dan Campbell. Yes, there are some knocks. I think that he has gotten a bit too, the Dallas Cowboys game to me is what's kind of putting a dark cloud over him a little bit with the, they should have won. There was a bad call. Because of the bad call, they didn't win. But at that point, you're still down, 1 point. You're at the 7. You got to kick the extra point there. He decided not to, which was a bad call in my opinion, and it cost them a chance at what could have still been winning that game, which might have gotten you higher seeding, made it that you didn't have to have those tough matchups to get to the conference championship, and could have helped you in the conference championship being a little bit better rested. But nevertheless, he had that bad decision. He's also been the main reason that the Lions have gone from a complete mess to, one of the best franchises in football right now. And the fourth down decision-making stuff is smart. Yes, it's not always going to work out, but it's helped them out way more than it's hurt them this season. The playoff stuff was a bit overblown. He's an incredible coach. And also the X's and O's are amazing. That we never talk about that. You always talk about fourth down decision-making and biting kneecaps. Also great X's and O's. There's so much to like about him. Season changer is where I'm going to put him. We didn't have Kevin O'Connell of the Vikings, who I like. I'm going to put him in the still good tier. Again, X's and O's are really good in my opinion. I don't know. Kyle brought up on the podcast, nobody knows anything about him. He's never, you never hear him talk. He never makes the news. He never has any funny headlines or anything. But I don't know. Again, I think the X's and O's are constantly some of the best in football. So I'll put the still good tier. We then have Todd Bowles of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who there is good with him. The defensive X's and O's are always very good, and he has improved in a lot of ways on game management stuff. Players seem to really like him. He's still more bad than good, though, for me. The offensive X's and O's really weren't great until toward the end of that season. Dave Canales kind of finally got it going late. We'll see how the new hire goes for him. You're going to have to hire a lot of offensive coordinators if you're going to be a defensive-minded head coach in the league for a while. Still has some defensive X's and O's that do drive me crazy as well. And on top of it, the game management stuff is still some of the worst in football, even if he has gotten a lot better. So, for all that, I think that feels fair for me. Like I said, no bad head coaches, in my opinion, in the NFL right now, but there's some issues, in my opinion, there. Next up is San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan, which I'm going to put in season changer. And again, I put him at my number. This is going to be a hot take if you didn't hear the podcast, but I went into detail there. I think he's the best coach in football. I just think that what he does and the way that he has talented rosters for sure, but part of that is he's built up those rosters. And, a while back, this is probably 3 or 4 years, I made kind of like a mini series on his entire tenure. And he's been great with bad rosters. He doesn't need, he won 500 with the Browns of Brian Hoyer. Like, the guy can do it all. There's no head coach in football that will say, okay, sure, this quarterback's an MVP candidate, but is it just because of the head coach? Like, no, we don't have that discussion with any other team than the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, a couple of bad Super Bowl decisions. I'll give you that. But even that, I think, has been overblown, in my opinion. I think that's more results-oriented thinking. That's just me. Either way, even if you're a Shanahan hater, I think you probably agree, though. Like, yeah, he's a season changer for sure. Then we have John Harbaugh, who I'm going to also put into season changer category, who, again, that conference championship game is going to leave a sour taste in your mouth. Like, there's no getting around it. They melted down. Like, that was a bad job by him. But at the same time, like, he does have a great history of being successful, and the Ravens always seemingly are consistently good no matter what injuries they have. They perform well even if they have injuries. They nearly beat the Bengals last 2 years ago with Tyler Huntley as their quarterback. He won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. Like, there's a lot of great stuff. The X's and O's consistently good. Teams usually don't make dumb mistakes unless it's the playoffs against the Chiefs, I suppose. Season changer feels fair. Then we have Eberflus with the Bears, who I think I'm probably going to put into more bad than good tier. You could talk me into mixed bag. That defense did have a great turnaround last year. There's no denying that. I still think the offense has really been underwhelming so far in the Eberflus era, and I think that's concerning. Does seem to be another guy that the players just like, so I could be being too hard on him. For sure I could be, but that's kind of how I view it right now. The Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy. You could talk me into, I think I'm in between these two. I'm in between mixed bag and more bad than good. I'll put him in the mixed bag. Listen, regular season is very good with Mike McCarthy. Well, let's at least give him that. He is legitimately a good regular season head coach. Playoffs, it's tough. And usually it's in part like him. Like, it's not just like his teams happen to lose in the playoffs. What are you supposed to do? It's like the X's and O's get worse. He doesn't seem to have a lot of backup plans, and a lot of times sometimes his outside the box thinking doesn't really work out, especially late in the game against San Francisco in back-to-back years with the quarterback sneak and then the Ezekiel Elliott as center plays, which did not work out too well for the Cowboys. So plenty to like about him. I'm interested in seeing how it works without Dan Quinn. But, he did get the best season out of Dak Prescott last year, and then the worst playoff game out of Dak Prescott. So what do we do with that? He's a mixed bag. Then we have, first-year head coach here, DeMeco Ryans for the Houston Texans, who I think I'll put into still good tier. I don't know if he's done enough quite yet for me to put him in a higher tier just yet, but, like, there is a lot to like about what he did last year. I just want to see more of it. Again, basically last year, 2 years ago, it was rough. New head coach, things look a lot better. The defense looked a lot better. Like, offense looked way better, but of course part of that is getting a new quarterback. But even the defense, which didn't have a ton of new pieces, still looked a lot better. Had some new pieces, defensive rookie of the year. But still, I think there's a lot you can give credit to him for. He's certainly a good coach. I think what we'll find out in the next few years is just how good of a coach is he. Then we have Shane Steichen, the Colts coach, who's another guy I really like. I thought he did good last year. Again, he nearly made the playoffs with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. No one had the Colts making the playoffs. They lost their starting quarterback and nearly got it done. They didn't. So he's going to be in a still good tier. But I really like the analytically inclined thinking. He's definitely a forward-thinking head coach, and I think he's going to be around for a while. I really do. Could be wrong, but we'll see. Then we have Sean McVay, who, I'm going to put him into season changer as well. Another guy who, has gotten some really good seasons out of some, I don't know. Jared Goff's a good quarterback. I don't want to say he's not, but, he's got some great seasons out of Goff. Obviously, probably got the best run out of Matt Stafford we've seen in that Super Bowl run. The game management stuff is horrible. With McVay, it just is. But the X's and O's are so strong. You got to put him in that tier, in my opinion. We then have the Chargers, who just got Jim Harbaugh. Maybe this is too optimistic, but I'm going to put him in the game changer tier right away. Again, when he's on, his scheme isn't that dissimilar to a, Kyle Shanahan style of offense. I know he doesn't, I know that it's going to be, Greg Roman doing a lot of the stuff and things like that, but still, it's interesting to me. The one thing I would say is I don't know if I love the strategy of cutting all your wide receivers. I get that you had to clear up money, but wide receivers are really important in today's NFL and are only getting more important. So maybe that's a concern I have. And again, I don't know how much that was his decision or what. He's not the GM, but still, that is, I think there's a lot of really good stuff with Jim Harbaugh. I think that this tier feels fair for me. Then we have what's certainly going to get a lot of people upset at me, Antonio Pierce. So really, you know what? Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put him into who knows tier. That feels fair to me because I just don't know. Like, the weird thing about Antonio Pierce is I haven't been overly impressed by the X's and O's or anything like that. That was kind of the same as it was all year last year. But the thing about it is Raiders fans are seemingly just so optimistic about Antonio Pierce that it's kind of talking me into it a little bit, right? Because why else? People that are paying this close attention to him are absolutely in love with him. It's similar to a Dan Campbell type of feeling in terms of the players seem to love him. Now, Dan Campbell, I think people talk about the what he can do in terms of he's such a personality. I think people sort of forget he's also done a great job at hiring coordinators and also is great at game management stuff. Antonio Pierce had some real rough moments game management last year. He did. He'll have to get better at that. And hey, he didn't know who was going to be head coach last year. So maybe with a whole offseason to kind of get, play some Madden, get that stuff down, hopefully he can get better at it. I can't put him in any tier other than the who knows, which is technically at the bottom tier, but I don't actually think it's, I think you get how that works. Doesn't necessarily mean you're the worst if you're in the who knows tier. That feels fair for me with Pierce. Next up is Andy Reid, who obviously is a top tier, incredible stuff. Still has his game management issues, should be way more aggressive than he is on fourth downs. That's not great. But will have his moments of being aggressive on fourth downs, and as a whole is, the X's and O's are incredible. Guys won, 3 Super Bowls in 5 years now, and made 5 NFC Championship games with Donovan McNabb. Yeah, season changer for sure. Dennis Allen is going to be another more bad than good. Hey, defensive X's and O's, I will still stand by, are very good. Unfortunately, there's more to coaching than just that, and that's kind of all he really brings to the table. Next up is Brian Daboll, who, I'm just going to put him in the mixed bag tier right now. It's weird. Again, he's one of the rare coaches that you have some Giants fans saying is an incredible coach, and we should be considering him a potential coach of the year candidate this year. After all, he's won one. And then there's the guy saying he should be getting, they should fire him, which to some degree, that's just New York media. Everything is extremes. But at the same time, listen, he won Coach of the Year 2 years ago. I still can't figure that Giants team out. Basically, by every metric I saw, the Giants team was not very talented. They won a playoff game anyway. Everyone kind of attributed that to coaching. Then last year, still weren't very talented. Were worse. Daniel Jones getting hurt, all that stuff. But they looked like what we thought they should have looked 2 years ago. So now everyone's like, well, clearly the coaching is the issue. Well, I don't know if that's the case. I actually don't know what he could have really done last year. But at the end of the day, I just want to see more. I don't know what to do with Brian Daboll. I think he's good. I think he's a good coach. I just don't know. So I'm just going to put him there. He's one of those, I have a hard time really getting a great evaluation on. Nick Sirianni's another unique one where, again, 2 years ago, I think I put him in my top tier. I was all aboard the Nick Sirianni trade. I thought that he was, going to be the next big thing. I loved the game management stuff. I loved the X's and O's, the tush push, all that stuff. Really smart. That team quit on him last year. There's no other way to say it. I was at that playoff game in Tampa Bay. They did not want to tackle. They just didn't. They had no interest in doing that. They were ready for the offseason to start. I got to put him in the mixed bag. Yes, there's a lot to like about him, but if your team is quitting on you, there's a lot less to like about you. So Mike Tomlin is a season changer. Every year, he takes 5-win teams and gets them to the playoffs in a way where he's actually so good. People are making the argument he hurts the Steelers because they always overperform from what they should perform, and then because of that they can't get the draft picks and can't fully rebuild. Tomlin has some game management stuff I don't love, but not the worst defender in the league. So season changer is where I have him. And then Sean Payton, who you're going to get a lot of different opinions on Sean Payton, and I can certainly understand all of them. I'm going to put him in the still good I'm going to put him in the still good section. That feels fair to me. There is good things about him. Yeah, he wasn't quite able to make Russell Wilson work, but that team did have quite a turnaround last year from 1-5 to nearly into postseason hunt. It's just, he's going through a rebuild right now. I don't know why he took that job. Why did he, the Saints would have been better, honestly. I don't know why he decided to go with the Denver Broncos there. I think he thought Wilson was going to work. So that was bad. That was a mistake. Shouldn't have gone to Denver, but I still think there's things to like about him. As a coach, not as a person. He seems like kind of an annoying person, but as a coach is very good. Then you have with the Green Bay Packers, also apologies to Sean Payton if you're watching this video. Poor Sean Payton, trying to have lunch, watching my video, and then I make fun of him. The Packers, of course, Matt LaFleur, who I'm also going to put in the season changer category. Was maybe had a lot of guys I put in the season changer. Hey, a lot of good coaches. Again, he got some of the best years out of Aaron Rodgers, probably the best back-to-back stretch out of Aaron Rodgers' career. Not saying much. He won back-to-back MVPs there. And then he was able to really develop a lot of these young guys last year. You got to give him a lot of credit for what he did with Jordan Love. That, again, a mid-season turnaround. Really a lot of impressive stuff there. The X's and O's are constantly some of the best in football. On offense, the defense, you could certainly, that knocks him down a little bit. He's towards the end of the top tier, but I'll still put him in the top tier. I think that's I think that's fair for me. And then you have the Arizona Cardinals here with Jonathan Gannon, who I'm going to put in the mixed bag tier. It's always weird with these guys. I thought did a lot of smart stuff last year. The Cardinals were better than we expected them to be, but when you're expected to be the 32nd team in football, performing better than that isn't that, being the 4th worst team instead. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with the coach that got the worst team in football to the 4th overall pick, or a team that we thought might be the worst team in football to the 4th overall pick. But they're still, I did still think they were scrappy. Is kind of similar to a Dan Campbell first year. Doesn't mean that that's how they're going to go on the same trajectory the Lions did. Because they didn't have the talent to really succeed, but I thought they were coached well, so I'll put them there. And then finally, last but not least, Sean McDermott, who is going to round out the mixed bag tier for me. Someone that, again, a lot to like about him. He did a great job turning around this Bills franchise. He had a similar to Dan Campbell type run, right, where he was able to turn this franchise around, but there's no getting around it. The playoffs games have been tough, and he's wasted some great performances from Josh Allen, where I think that if that defense holds against Mahomes, which is much easier said than done, but if that holds against Mahomes in a couple of these games, the Bills could have multiple Super Bowls right now. So who knows? Maybe they don't. They would have had to get past some other good teams like Baltimore last year, like Cincinnati in that 13-second game, right? So who knows? But at the end of the day, there is still good with his with what he can do and bring to the table, but I think mixed bag feels fair. X's and O's are usually good, just not in the playoffs against the Chiefs. So what do you do with that? Those are my thoughts. These are the tiers that I have. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about all of this? Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.